After the previous class, we resolved a very important issue with our database structure and especially the database consistency that we need to preserve across the time. And that is because one user previously was capable to, let's say, and somehow add an unavailable product to a cart. Currently, that is not possible. I'm, let's say, hacking our application and trying to add the product with ID number 3 to the cart, and we know that currently this is not going to work because does not exist a product with that ID and the status available, because we are applying a global scope that all the times obtains only the available products. That's good, but you may remember additionally that we introduced a new problem because that scope is applied for every single query, and that means that if we try to, for example, edit or show the details about this specific product, especially in the administrator panel, we are going to have a word 04 response, and that is not correct because, well, that is perfectly possible that the current administrator needs to modify something, including the status of that specific product. So how can we say that we need to show all the products independently of the status when we are in the admin panel? And other ways we want to preserve the regular global scope. Well, if you search online, you will find a lot of different solutions. Some of them, and in fact, the major part of them depend on the request. It means something like if the request is in the panel, so we are in the admin panel, and we can show and ignore all the global scopes. And if we are not in the panel, so we can preserve the global scope. That is going to work, but that is not correct. That is not reason to, let's say, attach the model with the request. The model only needs to take care of obtain, retrieve, and modify data in the database, but doesn't need and should not take care of nothing related with the request. So how can we do it? Well, searching online, trying to resolve this issue for this course and of course for my different projects, there is a very interesting and functional solution that is, let's say, creating a second model that is not going to apply that specific global scope, all the global scopes that you need, and then you need to use that different model into your panel controllers. Let's see how to do it. In fact, we are going to create, let's say, a duplicate of the product model. We have the fillable attributes, we have the relationships, we have the scopes, we have the getters, the setters, anything that you have, we should be allowed to get that. But we only need to specify a different functionality for the booted method. So even when you can go and just create a copy of this product model, there is a better and programmatic way. We are going to use inheritance. We are going to extend the new, let's say, panel product model from the product model. So if in the future you change this attribute of fillable or you change the name of a relationship or something like that, everything is going to be working the same. And the only difference is going to be the booter method, which is going to ignore or basically don't apply the global scopes. So let's go to our command prompt, and there we are going to use PHP Artisan again, and we are going to create a new model. And we are going to call that panel product. Panel product is going to be, well, the product model that we are going to use in the panel. There are different approaches. You can create a subfolder into even a model subfolder as well. You can use a different namespace, but for now, to keep it simple and to don't deal so much with the organization of the models into our application, I'm just going to prefer and recommend you, but it's not mandatory of course, to create just a model that says that this is for the admin panel. Now, this model is not going to extend from the base model of Eloquent. It is going to extend from the product that we already have. If you prefer, you can import the definition directly from app product and we can remove this other definition. Now, it is not correspondingly required or mandatory to import the definition of product as we are in the same folder, but that is not exactly ideal, so you can preserve that to get that much more clear for your code. So once it is extending from this product model, we automatically have access to all the public and protected attributes and methods. That means for the fillable, for the booted, for the cards, the orders, images, the scoops, and the getters. Perfectly possible and perfectly functional. Now, the only thing that we have to do is to redefine this specific protected booted method. So let's copy this. And we are going not to use the definition of our parent product. We are going to specify our own definition for the parent product. And basically, the definition is that we are not going to do anything. You can do it this way, or if you prefer, you can just pass an empty set of parameters here, but I recommend thus just to comment that line. As probably here, you need to pass at least one scoop. So you can preserve this commented to preserve that as a reference if you prefer, or you can perfectly remove the whole reference of this line. Everything is going to work. The idea here, the main purpose is, of course, as you can realize, that we are not registering nothing and any global scoop for this specific model. Now, how can we do that our product controller use this specific model and not the other? Well, we are going to do that easily. We are going to inject and use the definition of panel product instead of only product. So let's go to HTTP controllers, and there is the panel in the product controller. There we have. So as I said, instead of app product, we are going to use app panel product. So here in the index, we are going to use panel product. Now, as this model doesn't have any global scoop, we need to remove this. It is not required anymore. And we can preserve the original functionality using the old method here. And we can do basically the same for the other elements. In the case of the product request, there is not any problem with that. You just check the definition. This is just dealing with the request. It's not related with anything with the global or the local scopes, nothing with that. We are just making the rules and the corresponding validations that we have here. So we don't need to change that to, let's say, panel product request, because behind the scenes, this is still being the regular product that we have. So the validations and the attributes and the rules is still being exactly the same. Now, to create a product, we can use project create, or of course, you can use panel product. This is going to work exactly the same. And much more important, when we are using the implicit model binding, this is very required to use panel product, because we need to inject an instance of this model that is not using that global scope. So we have the same here, now here for update, and finally for destroy. We need to be sure that we are using panel product this time, and of course the name of the parameter and the variable in general could be exactly the same, because this is still, as I said, a regular product. So after this moment, this probably should be working, but let's see that we need to resolve a little detail. Let me show you what is that. So let's do refresh here, and there you have. Now such table panel products. What is that? Of course, we don't have a panel products table. Why is Laravel trying to obtain and use a panel products table? Well, because Laravel by default is trying to, let's say, determine the name of the table to create, to show, to select, and anything from the database using as a base the name of the model. So if the name of the model is panel products, Laravel is going to assume that we have a panel products table. But this is not the case. So how can we say to Laravel that the name of the table is still being only products? Well, that is exactly the same that we can do. We can specify here a protected attribute, which is table, and saying that the table is just products. So Laravel will know that should not be using only panel products, but products in fact. But there is a better solution. We can even specify this in the base model. It means in the product model. So if we go there, we can specify the protected table attribute, which is products, and of course that is correct. Once the panel product model extends from product, is going to inherit automatically the table attribute, which is protected, and is going to say that its table is products as well. This is exactly the same, and if for some reason in the future you are going to extend with different models from product. All of them are going to use the products table unless you specify a different thing. So if we go back and refresh, there you have, we have the available, unavailable, we have all the status of the products, and if we try to edit the product which is unavailable, there you have, it is going to work exactly the same. If you change any value here, you are going to see how it is working perfectly. You can update, there you have, and that's all. Everything is going to work exactly the same, and you can check that if you prefer. And of course, if we go to the main view and try to add to the cart a product that is not available, here we are not now in the admin panel, so we are still using the global scope. And once again, if I try to add the product 3 which is not available, this is going to fail as we expect, because here we are not ignoring the global scope. That is exactly what we wanted to resolve from the previous class and now with this one. That's all. You already are using global scopes, you know the details with that, and you know the best approach to ignore the global scopes, especially in your admin panel when needed. See you in the following class to keep learning new Laravel capabilities and resolving much more details of our online store.